What's up, guys? Welcome back to TME. You actually caught me during daylight this time. That's kind of unusual, right? Now, that video that I recorded previously, that was a Sunday night when I had all those experiences in the truck and was so moved by it that I actually even got into my past a little bit and elaborated on my backstory. Not just as a truck driver, but as a human. And so, again, if you watched it, thank you. I did make a declaration in that video. I said, from now on, I'm going to live with this enlightenment that I received. And just to kind of give you a quick segue of what I'm talking about is just realizing how when you're completely conscious and you're completely awake, you see how everything is connected, and you get a very, very deep sense of wholeness and satisfaction, and you're just pleased with life. This week, I actually discovered, this is one reason to be thankful for the algorithm on YouTube, because though it's not very friendly to me, and my videos don't seem to go very far when I toss them out there, I am thankful for the algorithm because it actually will send me things that it knows I'm interested in. Now, one of these things that it sent me this week I found very fascinating. He's now deceased. I'm not sure when he died. I think it was back in the 70s of the previous century. His name was Alan Watts, and when I looked up his bio, the first thing that came up was that he was a philosophical entertainer. And I listened to this guy. There are people that have these like recordings from like way back in the day, like the 20th century. I'm talking mid 20th century. I think this guy was born in the 1930s. And he's actually from England, but he spoke a lot. He did a lot of public speaking. He would actually go to a lot of the universities and stuff like that. He said he spoke at Harvard one time. But as a philosophical entertainer, I'd have to think, you know, like, what did this guy go to school to do? It says he's a writer, but just listening to what this guy's talking about, it's like, oh my God. These are the things that I'm constantly thinking about. Check him out. Because as a professional speaker that was so good at what he did that he was actually invited to universities to speak, you should listen to this guy. If you're interested in anything you've ever heard me talk about, look this guy up. Listen to what he has to say. And I swear, I didn't know anything about him until this week. But I can sit there and listen to this guy talk for hours and hours and hours. One thing that I want to talk about, the game of the universe. The universe, apparently, it likes to play games. Upon hearing that initially, you might be thinking, what? That sounds conniving. That sounds sinister. There's some hidden meaning in that can be very profound if you look at it from the right perspective. But throughout the course of my life, I've always been told by people like, dude, you're too serious. You just need to relax. You just need to calm down and stop being so serious. Learn how to take a joke. Get some thicker skin. Realize what life is. That life is like a stream, and you're like a vessel. And you're floating down the stream. Sometimes there's rapids, sometimes it gets peaceful and serene and calm and tranquil, but then other times you feel like you're just trying to hold on to everything you got to stay in the boat, right? But Bill Hicks said it too. I don't know how many of you guys have ever heard Bill Hicks. He's also deceased. He was a stand-up comedian. One thing that he has said that I've actually repeated in one of my previous videos is that he was kind of doing his little makeshift news anchor, because he had just previously had this whole skit on like CNN and news media, all that stuff, and how they're so dramatic and how they're just like portraying all this drama and like war, famine, AIDS, death, recession, depression, war, famine, AIDS, death, just to get you like scared, you know, to condition your mind. And I can't do the sound. I can't do it like he does. He's like, then you open up your door, you walk out your door, and it's like, shh, shh. That might not be the case so much these days, but maybe the reason why is because so many people bought into it back then, when news got really, really big and information started to pick up its pace. Back in, I don't know, what, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, it's just gotten heavier and heavier, more dense throughout each decade. But one thing that he did say is that when in his news anchor skit, he's like, today a young man on acid realized that all matter is merely energy condensed to a slow vibration, that we are all one consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. There's no such thing as death. Life is only a dream, and we're the imagination of ourselves. Here's Tom with the weather. And I'm sorry, I can't help but try to entertain you with some of these statements that these profound people have come up with. It makes me laugh. But one really deep thing that Bill Hicks said repeatedly was that life is like a ride. And it goes up and down, it goes around and around. And you're just here for the ride, you know. You're here for the ride. No ride lasts forever, you know. And I think that was what he was getting at, but it's just a ride. Just relax. Just relax. And that's one thing that I've had to do just in order to be able to meditate, I've had to relax. I've had to release the pinned up tension and energy that my body's been hanging on to. Because, like, going back to Joe Dispenza and everything that he says about muscle memory and your brain being unconscious of your body being in control, your body wanting to run the show. I mean, that's the same way as saying, you know, pretty much what the Bible says, that, you know, that the sense and reason of the flesh is death, but life is in the spirit. I've talked a lot about God being love, not God being loving or, you know, love coming from God, but the isness of God actually being unconditional love. That's what God is. I'm not talking about weak human love, I'm talking about agape. So in the sense of the universe playing games, think about it like this. It's not sinister. If we really believe that, then that might mean that we can actually just sit back a little bit and kind of relax. That doesn't mean becoming lazy or not taking care of the responsibilities that we have to survive, but it just means that we stop worrying, we stop giving into anxiety. We actually see anxiety for what it truly is. It's a delusion. It's like fear. It's a delusion. There's no fear in love, right? In that previous video, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I actually had me a few good gut laughs. Where I was in that state of mind, and I've kind of been in that state of mind ever since then. It was very liberating to realize that, you know, to be like a child, it's not just about your perception, it's also about innocence itself and lightheartedness and having fun. Like, that's one thing that if you have been addicted to substances, you have to remember how to have fun without relating to that substance. That's something that I think we struggle with, because if you're an addict and you are cutting yourself off from a substance, the only way to do that is to actually take it seriously, you know? It's kind of a paradox. It's like, okay, the only way I'm going to overcome this is if I get serious. And I'm not talking about striving to overcome it, because you're never going to get anywhere striving or through self-effort. There might be some out there that actually have, but that's not how I was ever able to overcome anything. And I'm going to give you a good example in a minute of what I mean. You have to remember how fun life can be, regardless of what you're doing. If you're like me, if you're just sitting here and you're waiting on a crane to put a container on your chassis, I might be sitting here for a couple hours, but what am I going to do? How am I going to interface with my imagination, my perception, my heart, my spirit, and just remember that I can be whole, I can be complete, I can have fun, I can smile, and I can do that independently of anything in my environment. I can actually become greater than my environment. That's how we start to impact our surroundings, instead of allowing our surroundings to take control and impact us, and then internalize all that stuff. Because that's like quicksand. You're sinking and you get so tired of the feeling of sinking that you're willing to do anything, including taking substances, to feel anything different than that sinking feeling. Does anybody relate to that? It's been almost 2 weeks now, actually. You guys have noticed, but there's something lacking in this video scene that's been in all my other videos. Can you tell what it is? I quit vaping. Did I quit nicotine? No. But I did quit vaping. And trust me, guys, I've been vaping for a long time. I was vaping before vaping became popular. Let's see, when did that happen? Maybe back in like 2011, 2012. You know, when it first came out, people thought it was weird. And then as it grew in popularity, people thought it was annoying. So they're like, okay, we're going to come up with something. We're going to put it on the news. And we're going to say that, you know, vaping's actually worse than smoking cigarettes. In some ways it might be worse than cigarettes, but I don't think it's any worse than cigarettes. But my whole point in saying that is that I've been vaping for a really long time. Well over 10 years. In fact, it was one of the only things that got me off of cigarettes. I never thought that I would be able to do it. Even with the meditation, I knew that it was going to take an act of God to get me to stop. And when I say act of God, I don't mean making myself feel condemnation over doing it either. Because no, I don't believe that's how God thinks. If you can realize that, and realize that there's nothing you can do to earn any more of the love of God, your actions, especially in the external world, it helps you realize the truth about God, but it doesn't get you any closer to that truth. It can definitely help you realize it, though. So I wanted to share that with you guys. There was a day that I tried to quit cold turkey, and something really profound happened to me, which is going to lead me into the next portion of this video. I got really bold one day, and I decided, okay, I'm just going to try to quit nicotine altogether. So I didn't vape, I didn't use any nicotine product. Right now I've got this, but eventually I'm going to get rid of this. If my motivation's not guilt or expense, because it's very expensive to support a nicotine habit. So if it's not any of that stuff, and it's not because I care whether or not people like or don't like the fact that I vape, then what is it? Well, I want to be more and more whole. And I know that this substance, like all the other substances I gave up in the past, is not contributing to my wholeness. And I want to be as whole as I can possibly be. I want to be as light as I can possibly be. So that's a good motivation. Feeling like I need nicotine to calm me down whenever I get frustrated, I've realized that the nicotine itself is what is contributing to the relief that I might feel in a moment whenever I'm using it, and the tension that I might feel whenever I'm not using it. Because that's how nicotine works. Either you're using it, you're putting it in your bloodstream, or you're not. And when you're not, you're actually going through spans of time where you're withdrawing from it. So when you're not using it, you're actually feeling that withdrawal. And guys, I would vape constantly. I probably could have got a Guinness World Record for the most vaping. Like, I went through so much vape juice. Like, I would go through one of those. I kind of feel like Bill Hicks right now talking about this, the way he used to talk. He talked about the way he used to smoke cigarettes, a pack a day, and he's like, nah, I go through 2 lighters a day. And that's kind of how I was with the vaping. I would go through a whole 120 milliliter bottle in maybe 3 days. I just vaped nonstop. It was not easy to give up that habit, or give up just feeling the thing in my hand, and that the oral fixation part of it. It was hard, and I had to do some reprogramming in my mind. And believe it or not, the meditation is what really helped me do that. I don't think I would have been able to do it without the meditation itself. But that day that I did try to quit cold turkey, I actually went 24 hours without it. And the difference that I felt, that I don't feel in this moment, that I'm motivated to feel again, was that feeling. You might want to call me hypersensitive or hyper-focused for saying this, but actually feeling the difference in my blood. Like your blood vessels, the tissues in your body and everything. When you've gone that long without nicotine, your body's that used to feeling it, you can tell a difference. Oh, you notice a difference. It's huge. It's huge. And it's not that the withdrawal will stop after 24 hours. It won't. From what I understand, the withdrawal, it actually get worse over the first 48 to 72 hours, and then it'll ease up a bit and start to lift off. And by 2 weeks, that's when you actually start to feel better. And then you progressively feel better and better after that point. So guys, I want to get there. But one thing that I wanted to talk about is that there's something I noticed that day that I quit cold turkey, and I noticed it almost immediately. And that is just space itself. And this might sound kind of weird. I've been talking about really practical, down-to-earth things, but I felt pure space. Like in my previous video, I said I felt pure consciousness. Well, I felt pure space, and I felt how pure space is actually a reflection of what's in the space that's inside of you. It reflects almost like a mirror, and it's charged with energy. And we would never sense this with our external senses, our eyes. If we move our bodies fast enough that we could feel the air hitting up against our skin, or if we're in silence, we might actually realize that silence also has a sound. So nothing is truly pure silent, believe it or not. And you hear that, you get a lot of that resonant sound whenever you're meditating. It's almost like it's a ringing. And I think what that is it's actually energy. It's actually energy that you're hearing in the silence and the stillness. And I know I'm kind of like a spider right now. I'm kind of going in every direction with my words, but it's all related. I've talked in the past a lot about brain waves and the frequencies. That electrical impulse in your brain and the speed of it is what determines what brain state you're in, whether it's beta, alpha, theta, delta, or in the case of what I believe happened to me right before I made my last video, I think that was like a gamma or something. It was like a super conscious kind of thing. It was definitely spiritual. That crane in the background, There's a chance it might be loading me any second now. If you think about a computer, how does a computer think? How does a computer process things? Binary code, right? Ones and zeros. Well, think about that electrical impulse in your brain the same kind of way. When the frequency goes up and it taps that energy signal, that's like a 1. When it goes down and there's no energy frequency, that's like a 0. So it's the I/O, or the binary frequency. That is the universe. That is life itself. That is your autonomic nervous system. And when you're meditating, you'll pick up on this a lot. As your brain becomes silenced and you're no longer thinking, you're no longer feeling, you just are. You're just an awareness. And you're inside of yourself. That's when you start to pick up on your autonomic nervous system. You start to pick up on things that your body's doing automatically that you have no control over. Seemingly, you have no control over it. That's where your subconscious mind is. A lot of the frustration, the anxiety and stuff that I was talking about before, that is created through your consciousness, because you're really just reacting to the external world through sensory perception. This is an element or a form of survival. And this is what tries to convince us when things don't go right, that we're separate from the infinite, we're separate from God, and we can't pick up on, we can't relate to, we can't connect with life, that life source that's inside of us. But the more you meditate and the more you release your thought and you slow down, the more you'll start to realize and feel that frequency. Like I said, you can hear it. This statement's true. Our bodies are tools of consciousness. Your body is a tool. One way that the Bible puts it is that your body is a temple for the Spirit. Well, your body's a tool for consciousness as well. Now that frequency, that is the entirety of it. That's the whole universe. The whole universe is a vibration. It's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's a frequency. Like I said, you can think about it in a binary code kind of way. Well, the cool thing about meditation and slowing down your brain waves is that once they're going at a slow enough frequency, you're actually able to see beyond the binary code. And you start to realize through perception that you can't always trust your senses, that there's something subtle underneath your sensory perception, even in the external. That might seem really hard to follow right now, but there are some profound things that I collected within my cognitive memory throughout the past couple of weeks, especially since I stopped vaping. It's intensified the meditation and everything. And I know that once I give up nicotine altogether, it's going to get even stronger. And I'm really looking forward to it. This vibration, I've talked in the past about the eternal dance of perichoresis, and that is the movement within God and the Trinity, Father, Son, and Spirit, and how this movement of energy, this frequency of love, is what moved God to bring the cosmos and everything into being. Okay, so in one sense or another, it will be the same as saying that at that other end of yourself, you'll discover that you're actually in the middle of this frequency, this circle dance. You're anchored, you're grounded. You're grounded to the source of life, regardless of whether you're a Christian or not. You are a being. You are a consciousness, and you are coming from Christ, and Christ is holding you everyone else in the entire universe together right now. We are all inside of Christ. That's a Christological statement. And that is existence. That is reality. Whether we're focused on the external world or we're meditating and we're actually getting a glimpse, a glance, a spark here, a spark there. We're getting to see through those frequency waves and see the subtle underlying truth of existence. You can think of yourself as a magnet in having polarity, opposite ends. And this is what I meant in my previous video when I said humanity is actually in two places at the same time. We don't realize it. Then I went further on to say that we're actually in one place, but we're so fixated and focused on such a small, finite portion of everything that exists that we can't see everything else that we are. We're like icebergs. Or we're actually, we are the iceberg, but our sensory perception is like the person that's looking at the iceberg in the ocean and only seeing the tip of it when there's so much more underneath that's just waiting to be unveiled and uncovered. I hope that makes sense. And when you meditate, you're actually getting to see through this. Another thing I've said in the past is that when you meditate, you're actually learning how to exist in deeper states of consciousness. Now, it starts out with you gaining access to this deeper side of yourself in the stillness and in the quiet. But as you do it over a span of time, repeatedly, I think you're actually reprogramming your subconscious to support your conscious mind so that you're able to do it 24/7. Which is actually an oxymoronic statement, because the more you meditate, the more you realize that time isn't linear. Another way to say all this is think about the fabric of time, the fabric of space, the fabric of matter as a matrix. It's like a matrix. It's like everything that our senses simulate in order to make this outside external realm that we all have to live in to survive. That's true. But when we fixate on it, how much more are we missing? That can cause an ache in you. You can start to become delusional. You can start to ache. You can start to feel weight, carry baggage. There's a lot of psychology in this, what I'm saying. Like, all that stuff that can actually lead somebody to do things like turn to substances or react in violence or anything like that. But our answer is just getting back, remembering our source and what we're sprouting from. And if we really do all have a polarity, then it should only take energy, a frequency, to carry us back to our root. Another thing I'm trying to say. I love talking about this stuff. And I was so happy and excited when I found Alan Watts. Like, guys, you got to listen to this guy, I'm telling you. Going back to the space, I think that this empty space, it can be attributed to what astrophysicists talk about when they mention dark matter. They don't know what it is because they're using their senses to try to determine what it is. Well, you can't do that. You can't do that. It's underlying. It's underneath your sensory perception. The whole concept of science in itself is to discover something, record it, and create a theory, and then test that theory over and over and over again. It's the scientific method, right? That's the whole strategy that science takes in order to come up with a theory. Well, the problem with that strategy is that it's limited to our sensory perception. So it misses so much underlying truth. And that's why the world of spiritualism and the world of science have always been separate. But what I said in my previous video is there's nothing dualistic about it. It's all connected. We're all connected to and protruding from the lattice of energy that makes up everything that exists. And all of that energy comes from one single source, and that one single source is God. That intelligent being that created all that we are, all that we have, all of it, we're not separate from. And we have the grace to connect with that source. In the video Breaching Theta, I quoted Joe Dispenza in his book, Your Mind is Not the Same as Your Brain. Your mind is your state of consciousness. Your brain is everything that supports that state of consciousness. So this connection that I keep referring to, this polar connection, everything external, everything internal, and how we're in the middle and we're able to perceive both at the same time. Meditation would be the movement between the two places that are actually the same place. I think the more you meditate, the more you realize that you're actually in both places at the same time. One thing that especially religious people have misunderstood is that there's one extremity or there's the other. There's good, there's evil. And it's all based on what they would say is the Word of God or the Bible, which actually isn't a fair statement, because that only comes down to their interpretation or how they understand the Bible. In my opinion, the Bible can really only be interpreted in one true right way, and that is with the Holy Spirit explaining it to you word by word. And I don't think that it's all meant to be taken literally. I don't think hardly any of it's meant to be taken literally. Some of it is, but there's more than black and white. There's all the space in between. Going back to the space thing again. This space is what makes up human beings. All of us. It's this space in between, the polarities. We can connect with both at the same time. And we do that through grace. We can't do that through self-effort. We can't do that through self-image or ego. We can't be moved to the higher place through fear. It's got to happen through love, and it's got to happen through the truth about who God is. That He's not angry, that He's not punitive. He's actually love itself, and He's inviting us to experience everything in the unknown that we haven't experienced before. He's actually calling us to that place. The cool thing about this is perspective. When I first started to meditate a few months ago, was like somebody on the outside looking into myself. After doing it for a few months, I have a different perspective now. I actually have the perspective that I wanted to have going into it. I can still go back to that old perspective, and I will, and I do actually, because I want more. I want to experience more of what's inside of me, and I actually have to take that perspective to get more, to go within me. But when I'm not meditating, I have the perspective that I was looking for when I started meditating, like right now. I feel wholeness. I feel complete. I feel satisfaction. I don't feel restless. I don't feel like I'm lacking or wanting anything. I just feel pure. I feel good. I feel satisfied. I'm happy. You know, I'm starting to see life as a game that can be played. Like, we can be wild, we can be fun, we can be creative, imaginative. We don't have to be rigid, which is something that I feel like I embodied a lot, especially last year. We don't have to be rigid. We don't have to have that certitude. I have to be right. I don't care about being right. I just want to know what truth is. Really. So that perspective thing is really important. Like, everything that I wanted to have a few months ago, I now have. So I'm asking myself now, what else do I want to manifest in the external? What else do I want to bring up out of the deep? Has a lot to do with creativity, for sure, for real. The last thing I'll say, that space in between the binary frequency, when we see the subtle underlying of what the infinite is, everything beyond, that is creativity. That's where the eye of the artist is. That's where the ear of the musician is. That's where the heart of the creative writer is. That is imagination. And once we get beyond the limited, rigid experience of survival, and we discover the realm of creativity and the realm of the spirit, that's where it all is. I don't want you guys to get misconstrued or confused about what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying that you should reject reality. I'm not saying that you should reject your senses. I'm saying you should look underneath what's causing you to sense those things and see how it's all coming into being. And that's what will move you into creativity. In every true, pure form of art out there, I think that's how they discover it. We couldn't express ourselves, we couldn't do art without our senses. Our senses are really important. Without that revelation, we can easily misuse and abuse our senses. And I think that's what a lot of people are stuck in right now, and they don't know how to get out. I guess that's it for now. But thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Please leave a like, subscribe, share the video. Do what you will, do what you do. Have a good day. God bless. If you haven't been motivated to meditate, I hope that all this has motivated you in some way. It'll change your life. Look into it. One other idea that I had, I'm not going to do in this video, I'm done in this video, but one other thing I wanted to do is make another video in the near future and just show you guys my library and everything that I've exposed myself to that's helped me become a better person, I think. And talk a little bit about it, kind of go through a timeline, and I'll try to make that one scripted. Or at least have notes as I make the video, so I'm not like trailing all over the place like I always do. But if you were able to keep up with me, thank you, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, later.